I want to introduce our special guest, Annette Sear. She is the chair and founder of the Melanoma Network of Canada and 3-time melanoma survivor. Please welcome her. Nice round of applause. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. This is great.
And maybe we can learn a little bit more about yourself and the Melanoma Network of Canada.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, Jeremy, I had melanoma. It recurred a couple of times over the last 17 years, and so I'm now 5 years out again. So I count myself lucky. Somewhere, knock on wood. I started the foundation, the organization, back in 2009 because there was a very significant gap of information and also connection for patients in the country. There's other more prevalent diseases with a lot bigger numbers, but this is the seventh most commonly occurring cancer in the country, and unfortunately one that's on the rise. And so there was an absolute desperate need for resources, information, support, and the organization has grown significantly in almost 10 years that we've been in existence, much to the kindness of donors and the hard work of the staff. And we've been able to offer a lot of really cutting-edge programs that are not necessarily available even on a worldwide basis. Some really interesting peer support groups. We've got top-notch information that's unique to melanoma, and we also provide a very good and welcoming organization for people who are looking for information, for support, and we try to do that as well. I think we do a fairly good job with that.
It's incredible.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And if anyone wants to find out more about the Melanoma Network of Canada, what's the best place to check out the website? Or?
Online, melanomanetwork.ca, and you can call our office. We're located in Oakville, so not that far out, and we do provide services right across the country for patients.
Fantastic. Yeah. Are you ready to cook?
I am.
Yes. So, is anyone sick of turkey yet? Not? No. Yes. Okay. Never. So this is actually a recipe that we developed to incorporate some leftovers from turkey. Who still has leftovers from Thanksgiving? Okay, so maybe a couple people.
You will soon.
Yes.
Right, with the upcoming holidays.
Yes, exactly. So this is a great one for leftovers. It doesn't have to be in Thanksgiving. Hopefully you still don't have Thanksgiving leftovers in your refrigerator, right? But this can be even, a roast chicken from the night before, and maybe something that you have in the freezer.
Yeah, sure.
Would work, exactly. So just a little bit on food safety as well. Do you know how long you can keep leftovers in the refrigerator for? About 3 days. Yeah, 3 days. I know some will probably stretch that a little longer, but especially if you're immune compromised, you want to make sure that you try to stick as best to those food safety guidelines as much as possible. So 3 days is usually the recommendation for the refrigerator, and for the freezer,
A couple months.
yeah, you can even stretch a little longer than that. You can go about 4 months with meat products. You can go even longer with any plant-based foods. In the freezer, they're food safe, which is good. It's just the quality will start to diminish over time. Yeah. So about four months. So we try to use our freezer as much as possible. I encourage you guys to use your freezer as much as possible. I bet you there's things that are buried in the back of the freezer that you want to forget about. But using it as a tool to sort of save your leftovers and turning them into new recipes is great. And that's what we're going to do today.
Awesome.
So we're going to start off with some kale.
Cool.
You like kale?
Love kale.
Okay, so this is a black kale or dinosaur kale. It's a great version of it. Really nice and hearty. You can definitely use any kale for this. You can use any leafy greens for this. Stephanie will be happy. So
Get your green.
yes. So what we're doing is we just have a couple cups of kale. Now the only thing you have to do is you obviously wash it really well. But we want to remove the ribs.
Absolutely.
Have you done that before?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so
I don't necessarily do it well, but I do know to remove it.
That's all right. So show us your technique.
Okay.
Oh, you can use a knife? Yeah?
Well,
I can even show you with your hands.
Okay,
it's even easier.
sure.
So what I do is hold the stem, because this stem here is really tough.
Yes.
It's pretty fibrous, right? You can use it for stock, but not really good eating. So hold the bottom, and then with your other 2 fingers, sort of pinch with your thumb and your index finger, and just rip up the side. And where it
Excellent.
snaps, the rest is a tender, and you can use this whole entire piece.
Perfect.
Do you want to try a few of those?
Oh, sure.
Fantastic. So with the kale, we have about a couple cups. You can even use frozen greens. It works really, really well with frozen greens. Yes. All right. So we're gonna blanch these really quickly. So we can use boiling water. I actually have some stock here that I need for the next recipe. So we're gonna put it in the stock and then actually flavor the stock so that doesn't go to waste. And it'll give our greens some more flavor as well. So we're gonna add about a couple cups to this.
You need more? Yep. No?
Sure. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Beautiful. Throw that in there. And I'll put this back here. So we're gonna blanch this just for a couple minutes, just until it softens up. And this is gonna give our turkey croquettes a really nice flavor and a really nice color as well. And then we'll actually get to the croquettes. So a few ingredients here. We have our turkey. So this is our leftover turkey. Now, what's the rule? Well, one of the rules with leftovers, what's the most important thing that we should be doing? Does anyone know? Is reheating for sure, right? I know not everyone reheats their leftovers. I've been guilty of it. But especially if you're immune compromised, you definitely need to reheat your leftovers till it's steaming. But to be really sure, a food thermometer should gauge about 160 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what you're looking at.
And that's because the bacteria does tend to replicate every, 20 minutes or something with exposed food or something?
Yeah, exactly. And anything, I mean, as long as it's outside of the danger zone, so we call the danger zone is when bacteria starts to reproduce, is anything between 4 degrees and 60 degrees, right? And so what's your refrigerator setting, or it should be at 4, right? So anything 4 and below is good, but anything that has sort of any bacteria that has been created in the food while it's been sitting at room temperature, it just gets stored. It doesn't get killed in the refrigerator. So we want to make sure that we reheat it until it's steaming to make sure that we destroy it. So for this recipe, we have 2 cups, or actually about a cup of minced turkey, and we just use a knife to finally chop it up. So if you want to add that to this, beautiful. We have some grated cheddar cheese.
Awesome.
There's some flavor, some calories as well.
Excellent. Well, calories are good.
We have a little bit of sage.
You want that in there?
We'll put that in there.
That's
Beautiful.
about what, a couple tablespoons?
Yeah, it's about a couple tablespoons. You can use dry herbs too. I think sage just works really well with turkey.
Turkey. Perfect.
We have an egg that I'll just whisk up really quickly. So the egg is going to give it some moisture. It's going to help to bind everything together as well. Put that. Now traditionally, croquettes would have like a potato or something starchy in it to bind it together. The egg is going to help to do that for us. And the kale is going to actually help give it some more moisture to pull together.
They'd also be fried, but
Yes, they would also be fried.
we're baking them.
Or baking them, yeah.
So what's that in your crispy?
So some breadcrumb, just a little bit of breadcrumb. You can use even some oats if you want to make it a little bit healthier. I've seen people use cornflakes in there. All good options. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add some of our kale puree. And I'm going to show you how to do this in a second. I've done some ahead of time. And that way I can get you to start mixing here.
Okay.
So this is just the kale that we've blanched, some lemon juice and olive oil. And we're going to add about 3 tablespoons. And if you want to mix that together
Sure.
really well. And again, this is sort of an exciting way to transform your leftovers so that you're not eating the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So for the kale, you put it through the a blender
Exactly,
and
yeah.
such, and kind of the consistency of looks like pesto.
Almost like a pesto. That's exactly what it is. So we're using a food processor here. But the kale, that's all you need is about a couple minutes until it's nice and soft. Try to drain off as much of the liquid as you can. I have the smallest food processor in existence here. And this is also a great recipe to double, triple the batch because these croquettes freeze really well.
Wonderful.
And when you need like a little snack and you don't feel like making, something, you can just pop these in the oven and you're good to go.
Well, I know a lot of patients that are, under immunotherapy, well, chemotherapy for some, but melanoma tends to be more focused now on targeted and immune therapies, and one of the side effects with that is, a lot of fatigue,
Right.
and loss of appetite, indigestion, that type of thing. So having something readily available is just a great idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So kind of getting somebody, maybe a family member, sometimes if you don't feel like being in the kitchen, getting somebody to make them for you and then freeze them, and just add like taking kind of small snacks here and there is always a good idea.
Absolutely.
So you've added some olive oil?
So a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of lemon juice.
Okay.
You can add a pinch of salt too, if you want. You really don't need too much. And we're gonna just plug it in. One of these days.
Yeah.
So again, 3 days is usually a good rule of thumb. It will start to oxidize, especially even after a day. There's nothing wrong with it, just the color's not going to be as vibrant green. I suggest you freeze this.
Yeah.
This freezes really, really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice cube, or even if you make a bigger batch of this, have a freezer bag,
Yeah.
put it in
Awesome.
there and just flatten it out, and then freeze it like that, and then you can just tear off
Perfect.
shards and throw it in anything. So we'll whiz this up. That's good. So this one's a little chunkier, but that's
Nice
good.
green color.
Exactly.
Really.
Beautiful green color, right?
Lots of antioxidants.
Absolutely. Good.
Okay, so you did a great job here.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
We'll add a little bit of this as well. Yes, we'll get you to mix some more.
Now, if it's chunky, is it because you didn't puree it enough, or you need to have more oil?
You can add a little bit more liquid, and I was trying to do it quick just to show you. So about 10 seconds, you can go a little longer. If you do make a bigger batch, a blender works actually best for this because food processor doesn't do the greatest job in making it really smooth.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can just let it go a little bit longer.
Smells good already.
Beautiful. Okay, so that's pretty much our croquette mixture. Really simple, and all you want to do is you can use a spoon, or we have a little ice cream scoop, which works
Perfect.
really easily. And so if you scoop off just an ice cream scoop like that,
Yep.
and then you just put it onto the sheet.
Will do. Thank you, Chef.
So
Really
we spoke
good.
about, the fact that turkey's packed with protein, but there's also some other nutrition benefits to it, like vitamin B12, zinc, and selenium. So your vitamin B12 keeps your nervous system working well, and that's kind of like your electrical wiring in your body. And you need to eat vitamin B12 because your body doesn't store it. So it's really important to get it through different types of foods. And all cuts of turkey, whether it's dark meat or light meat, all have vitamin B12. You, of course, can get it from other
Oops, that was a little
products.
skimpy.
And then your selenium, what I like to call is kind of like your skin-loving mineral, okay? Because selenium acts as an antioxidant, so it helps protect your cells from any sort of damage, but it also keeps your skin healthy. So in terms of selenium, you can get that from turkey as well, and you could find it in the light meat and the dark meat, but the dark meat actually has more selenium. And then in terms of your zinc, it's something that I like to call like your inner boxer, because zinc helps to fight off any infection, and
we go.
it also helps
you.
heal
Voila.
wounds, right? So getting, again, zinc from turkey is a great idea. And you can, again, there's more zinc in the dark meat, but also ground meat of turkey. So those are some fun facts to help boost the immune system with leftover turkey ideas.
Excellent.
Annette flew through this. I was hoping
really
it would be a little longer, but that's...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that was good. That was fantastic.
Lucy on the chocolate.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's what you're looking for. Now, if you didn't want to cook these right away, let's say you're making a big batch for storage, pop this into the freezer and freeze them until they're solid, about an hour, and then transfer them to a freezer bag.
Excellent.
And then you can throw them in the oven. we want to add a little bit more texture. You don't have to, but if you do want to add a little bit more texture, you can just add a little bit of breadcrumb on top. And they're still pretty moist, so I probably won't need any olive oil, and I'm just gonna go with a sprinkle. You can even roll these individually by hand. Just takes a little bit longer. And we have a show to teach here, so we're just sprinkling it on top.
Awesome.
And you can just like pack it just a little bit, just so that they're even shape. It's okay if it's a little bigger, a little smaller, as long as they're consistent so that they're cooking evenly. And that's it. So this can go into the oven, about 400 degrees for about 12, 15 minutes, just until they're really nice and crispy. The turkey is already cooked, right? Everything in here is pretty much already cooked. It's just the egg that you really want to cook, and you want to make sure that we're reheating the leftovers so that they're at least 160 and steaming, right?
Great.
So that's it. So that goes into the oven, and
Good job.
it's expected. Yes.
Good way to infuse some, sneak some vegetables in for my hubby.
Yes. Exactly.
You got it.
And
Oh, wow.
anytime I guess you pair cheddar with kale, it's probably a win.
Yeah,
But
no
that's
kidding.
pretty much what we're looking for at the
Amazing.
end. Right. So
Wow.
really nice and golden brown. You can see some of that cheddar start to squeeze through there. But it's only a little bit, and the older, it's like a more of an aged cheddar, so it has a little bit more of a sharper taste, so you don't need as much too. That's pretty much
delicious.
it. That's
Amazing.
our first recipe.
Wow, good
Leftover
job.
turkey. And pretty easy.